Hey, Stevie Noni here doing the junkyard crawl at Burniston Auto Wrecking in Burniston, Massachusetts with a little something for the sport compact crowd. Now, I'm mostly into V8 rear-wheel drive muscle cars, but I absolutely can give respect to cars like this 2005 Acura RSX Type-S. Now, the RSX was built between 2002 and 2006 model years as a front-wheel drive two-door hot hatch. These were kind of the Civic's older brother, but this one here has 17-inch wheels. I noticed a minute ago, which means it's a Type S, which means there's a lot more going on than just those big wheels. Under the hood of this one, there is something kind of cool. Now, these all have 2-liter inline-4 engines, but the Type S has a very special one with 201 horsepower. Right here. The standard RSX has 160 horsepower, so this little 2-liter engine right here makes the same power as a lot of V6s. And here's the deal. This is a high winding engine. Maximum RPMs are over 8,000 with this, and its horsepower peaks right around 7,900 RPM. And check this out. The torque peak on this is 143 foot-pounds at 7,000 RPMs. Now that's the Type S. The standard RSX makes 141 foot-pounds at 4,000 RPMs, like 3,000 RPMs lower. Now here's the thing, to crutch the engine's lack of low-end torque but higher RPM power, these have a 477-to-1 final drive ratio and a 6-speed close ratio manual transmission. Non-Type S RSXs have either a 5-speed automatic, yawn, or a 5-speed manual. But again, the RSX Type S has the 6-speed tranny, heavy-duty suspension, 11.8-inch front rotors versus 10.5. So the RSX Type S is a big deal. Now, one thing we see here too, of course, is VTEC. Of course, DOHC, we know that means dual overhead cams, 2 liters. VTEC was something that Honda launched in the early 1980s, and it stands for Variable Valve Timing and Lift Electronic Control. And what you basically have is a camshaft with 2 sets of lobes and little cam followers that can toggle between the high lift and the low lift to give either low-end torque or high RPM power. And that's the beauty of the VTEC philosophy, which has also been used on 6-cylinders and other 4-cylinder engines from Honda. But again, unlike a cam phaser, which just rocks the cam to change duration, these things can alter lift, duration, overlap by means of those active cam followers and that double lobe camshaft. So the high lift, low lift, all baked into one. And a lot of that has to do with Japan's tariffs on displacement. So Honda said, let's make a small cubic inch motor that doesn't fall under the tariffs, but gives high specific output. That's what VTEC was all about. The beauty of this right here is these engines are easily swapped into Gen 8 Honda Civics, which means anything built between 2005 and 2016. So the 6-speed, the heavy-duty axle shafts, that high RPM, 8,000 RPM, 160 horsepower, 210 horsepower 4-banger can fit into a little Civic and turn that thing into a sleeper. Or, you know, of course, in this car, it also goes a long way towards 0 to 60 times in the 6-second bracket, quarter-mile times in the probably a mid-14s with some traction. And one thing again about the Type S is the 16-inch wheels versus the 17-inch wheels, excuse me, versus the 16s used on regular RSXs. Also, again, those big rotors up front, 11.8 inches versus 10.5. Now this one's really special. This one has the optional GM Hydromatic option right there. So that's a day 2 modification. Kind of a crude bit of work right there. I don't know who did that, but whatever. But the beauty again is these 5-spoke wheels that kind of resemble the NSX Honda supercar, Acura supercar, if you will. And speaking of Honda, these things were sold in Japan as the Honda Integra, not the Acura RSX. So again, the branding is kind of specific to the United States. But here again, the Type S has a little trunk lip right there, not something you find on a regular RSX. So little things that kind of hide in plain sight. But inside is something kind of cool. If we can, the tachometer on this one goes to 9,000 RPM. And we can see the 160 mile an hour speedometer way up inside of there. And again, that 9,000 RPM tachometer is not a fib. This engine, again, it makes peak power at 7,900 RPMs. And the transmission between the seats, that's the 6-speed, the close ratio 6-speed, again, that allows that super high torque peak, 7,000 RPMs, to be livable on the street and elsewhere. Again, the regular RSX has a 5-speed manual and makes peak torque down at 4,000 RPM. So the extra gears on this puppy here are specific to the Type-S. That's a pretty rare transaxle. But something kind of crazy with these things too is the 7-speaker Bose stereo system, which is standard on the Type-S, with something very weird. Now, I'm used to radio delete plates and super stock Dodges and stuff, but if we look right here, here's the spare tire cover right here. And when we lift it up, we'll find the 7th speaker is a Bose subwoofer that's mounted to the mini spare tire. This is a Bose subwoofer. There's holes around the perimeter here which allow the tire and the trunk area to become a resonance chamber for this subwoofer to basically rattle your molars out of your teeth. You unscrew this little wing nut right here and this puppy comes in or out. But again, the little hot tip is these things can be transferred, but you could pop this little Bose subwoofer into a car like that or anything that didn't have much room in the back and kind of get a subwoofer on the Jeep. Now you know. But again, that's the story of the RSX Type-S, which is kind of like the Coronet RT or the Chevelle SS for the sport compact set. And again, this one here has been smacked in the nose. The airbag went off. It's maybe a total. I don't know. These are kind of rare. It might be worth fixing, but if all else was to fail, a Gen 8 Honda Civic, this drivetrain could bolt right in that and turn into a screaming sleeper. So, food for thought. Now, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the SteamMags YouTube channel and stick around. There's lots more tomorrow where this came from.